and the power of great wisdom, have all emerged out of the earth, which quaked in the four directions, and split asunder. O Bhagavat! We have never seen such a thing before. We entreat you to tell us the name of the land from where they have come. We have been constantly traveling in various regions. Nevertheless, we have never seen such a thing before. We do not know even a single person in this assembly. All of a sudden, they have emerged from the earth. We entreat you to explain the reason why all of the immeasurable hundreds of thousands of koyas of bodhisattvas in this great assembly now wish to know about this matter. There must be underlying causes for this. To explain all of these bodhisattvas, O Bhagavat, he of immeasurable qualities, we entreat you to clear up the confusion of the assembly. Thereupon the Buddhas, who were the magically created forms of Kya Muni Buddha, arrived from other incalculable thousands of myriads of koyas. 214. 41. Chapter 15. Of lands, and sat cross-legged on lion seats under the jewel trees in the 8 directions. Each attendant of these Buddhas had seen the great assembly of bodhisattvas as they emerged from out of the earth and floated in mid-air in the four directions of the great manifold cosmos. Each of them addressed his Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat! Where has this great assembly of immeasurable, limitless, incalculable bodhisattvas come from? Then the Buddhas answered their attendants, saying, O sons of Avotius family! Wait a moment. There is a bodhisattva Masattva called Maitreya, who has received a prediction from the Buddha Kyamuni that he will become a Buddha after Kyamuni in the future. Since he has already asked about this, the Buddha will now answer him. You shall be able to hear the reason yourselves. Then the Buddha Kyamuni addressed Bodhisattva Maitreya, saying, Splendid, splendid, O Ajita! You have asked the Buddha an important question. You should all single-mindedly don the armor of perseverance and be of RM will. The Tathagata now wants to reveal the wisdom of the Buddhas, the inherent transcendent powers of the Buddhas, the lion-like dignified power of the Buddhas, the majestic and mighty power of the Buddhas. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. You should be persistent and wholeheartedly attentive, for I want to explain it to you. Do not have any doubts, for the wisdom of the Buddha is difficult to comprehend. You should now awaken the power of faith, and with perseverance abide in the good. Now you will all be able to hear what you have never heard before. I will now put you at ease. Have no doubts or fear. The Buddha never speaks false words. His wisdom is immeasurable, the foremost Dharma that he has attained. 215. The Lotus Sutra is profound and difficult to explain. I will now expound this difficult teaching, so you should listen wholeheartedly. Then the Bhagavat, after speaking these verses, addressed Bodhisattva Maitreya, saying, I will now proclaim it to all of you in this assembly. O Ajita! All of you have never seen these immeasurable, innumerable, incalculable great Bodhisattva Masattvas who have emerged from out of the earth, having attained highest, complete enlightenment in this world. I led, inspired, and instructed these Bodhisattvas, restrained their thoughts, and caused the thought of the path to awaken in them. When these Bodhisattvas Sattvas lived in the space under the earth of this Sa world. They recited Ious sutras, became well versed in them, and contemplated, analyzed, and correctly remembered them. O Ajita! All these sons of a virtuous family did not wish to be among the multitude where there is always much discussion. They always wanted to be in quiet places. They diligently strove without resting or relying upon devas or humans. They always desired the profound wisdom without obstructions. They always wanted the Dharma of the Buddhas. They strove whole-heartedly in seeking the highest wisdom. At that time the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. O Ajita! You should know that all of these great bodhisattvas have practiced the wisdom of the Buddha for innumerable kalpas. They have all been inspired by me, and the thought of the great path has awakened in them. They are Mayas, abiding in this world. They always cultivated ascetic practices, wishing to be in quiet places, rejecting the clamor of the multitude. They did not want to have much discussion. 216. 41b. Chapter 15. All Mayas such as these constantly practiced my teaching with vigor, day and night, in order to seek the Buddha path. They lived in the space under the earth of this Sa world. They were RM in recollection, and they always diligently sought wisdom, explaining various subtle teachings. Their minds were free from fear. Sitting under the Bodhi tree in the city of Gay, I attained highest, complete enlightenment, and turned the wheel of the highest Dharma. I then led and inspired them, so that the thought of the path awakened in them for the RST time. All of them are now at the stage of non-retrogression, and will certainly become Buddhas with no residue. I now teach the truth. You should wholeheartedly believe that. From long, long ago I have been leading and inspiring all these bodhisattvas. Then Bodhisattva Masattva Maitreya and the innumerable other bodhisattvas became doubtful and confused concerning this unprecedented experience. They thought this: how is it possible in such a short time for the Bhagavat to have inspired such an immeasurable, limitless, incalculable number of great bodhisattvas, enabling them to abide in highest, complete enlightenment? Immediately they addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat! When the Tathagata was a prince, he left the palace of the Kyas, sat on the race of enlightenment which is not far from the city of Gay, and attained highest, complete enlightenment. Since then more than 40 years have 217. 41c. The Lotus Sutra passed. How is it possible, O Bhagavat, for you to have done such great Buddha acts in such a short period of time? Is it through the might of the Buddha and through the Buddha's qualities that you have inspired such an assembly of incalculable great bodhisattvas to achieve highest, complete enlightenment? O Bhagavat! Even if someone counted the number of the great bodhisattvas for thousands of myriads of koyas of kalpas, they would not be able to nish. There would be no end. From long ago these bodhisattvas have been planting roots of good merit in the presence of immeasurable, limitless Buddhas. They have perfected the bodhisattva path and have always practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity. It is, O Bhagavat, difficult to believe such things in this world. Suppose a handsome man with dark hair, 20 years of age, were to point to a 100-year-old man and say, "He is my son." And the 100-year-old man points to the young fellow and says, "He is my father and he raised me." This would be difficult to believe, and what the Buddha has now taught is exactly like this. It has not, in fact, been so long since the Buddha attained the path. Yet for the sake of the Buddha path, this great assembly of Bodhisattvas has been diligently striving for innumerable thousands of myriads of koyas of kalpas. They have skillfully entered, abided in, and emerged from immeasurable thousands of myriads of koyas of samayas. They have attained great transcendent powers and practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity for a long time. They have gradually and ably practiced wholesome teachings and are skilled at discussions. They are jewels among humans and a great rarity in the entire world. Today the Bhagavat has correctly said that after he attained the path of the Buddha, he caused the thought of enlightenment to awaken in the Bodhisattvas for the rest time. He then led, inspired, and instructed them to approach highest, complete enlightenment. O Bhagavat! Although it has not been so long since you attained Buddhahood, yet you have really done these great meritorious acts. 218. Chapter 15. We believe the Buddha's words, spoken according to our capacities, and that what he says is never false. We are all well versed in the Buddha's knowledge. However, if the Bodhisattvas in whom the thought of enlightenment has recently awakened hear this after the Buddha's parinirvana, they will not accept it, and this will bring about conditions for erring deeds that destroy the Dharma. That is why, O Bhagavat, we entreat you to explain it to us and remove our doubts. Moreover, in the future, when the sons of a virtuous family hear this, they will also be free from doubt. Thereupon Bodhisattva Maitreya, wanting to elaborate upon the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Long ago the Buddha left the household of the Kya clan and approached Ge, where he sat under the Bodhi tree. It has not been so long since that time. The number of the Buddhas is incalculable. From long ago they have practiced the Buddha path and attained transcendent powers and the power of wisdom. They have thoroughly studied the Bodhisattva path and are as undulled by worldly affairs as the lotus blossom in the water. They have emerged from out of the earth and all stood respectfully before the Bhagavats. It is difficult to comprehend this matter. How can we possibly believe it? The Buddha attained the path only a short time ago. Yet he has accomplished so much. We entreat you to remove our doubts and give a detailed explanation according to the truth. 219. 42. The Lotus Sutra. Suppose there were a young man, just 20 years of age, who pointed to a 100-year-old man, who was wrinkled and had white hair, saying, "This is my offspring." The old man also says, "This is my father." The father is young, and the son is old. No one in the world would believe it. The Bhagavat's teaching is exactly like this. He attained the path only a very short time ago. Yet these Bodhisattvas are in resolution and without weak will. They have been practicing the Bodhisattva path for immeasurable kalpas. They are skilled at difficult discussions, and their minds are free from fear. They are resolute and persevering. They are handsome and dignified, praised by the Buddhas in the 10 directions. They are good at detailed explanations. They did not want to be among the multitudes, for they always liked being in meditation, and so they lived in the space under the earth, in order to seek the Buddha path. Since we heard about this from the Buddha, we have no doubts about it. But still we entreat you, O Buddha, to expound it, and make it clear for the future. Anyone in whom doubts awaken, and who does not believe in this sutra, will certainly fall into the troubled states of being. That is why we now entreat you to explain. 220. Chapter 15. How in such a short time you have led and inspired these innumerable bodhisattvas, so that the thought of enlightenment has awakened in them, and they abide in the stage of non-retrogression. 221. Chapter 16. The lifespan of the Tathagata. Thereupon the Buddha addressed the bodhisattvas and the entire great asm, saying, O sons of a virtuous family, you should believe the true words of the Tathagata. He addressed the great assembly again, saying, you should believe the Tathagata's true words. He repeated this to them, saying, you should believe the Tathagata's true words. Then the great assembly of bodhisattvas, headed by Maitreya, addressed the Buddha with their palms pressed together, saying, O Bhagavat, we entreat you to explain it. We will accept the Buddha's words. After they had spoken in this way 3 times, they again said, we entreat you to explain it. We will accept the Buddha's words. Then the Bhagavat, realizing that the bodhisattvas continued to entreat him after those 3 times, addressed them, saying, listen carefully to the Tathagata's secret and transcendent powers. The Devas, humans, and Asuras in all the worlds all think that the present Buddha, Kyamuni, left the palace of the Kyas, sat on the terrace of enlightenment not far from the city of Gaya, and attained highest, complete enlightenment. However, O sons of a virtuous family, immeasurable, limitless, hundreds of thousands of myriads of koyas of Naotas of Kalpas have passed since I actually attained Buddhahood. Suppose there were a man who ground hundreds of thousands adds of koyas of Naotas of incalculable great manifold cosmos into particles, while passing through hundred thousands of myriads of koyas of Naotas of incalculable lands to the east, he dropped just a single particle, and in this way he continued to drop the particles as he went toward the east, until they were all gone. O sons of a virtuous family, what do you think about this? Can all of these worlds be calculated or not? Can one imagine all of these worlds, calculate, and know their number or not? 223. 42b. The Lotus Sutra. Bodhisattva Maitreya and the others together addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, these worlds are immeasurable, limitless, incalculable, and beyond our powers of conception. Even all the Avakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, with their knowledge free from corruption, are not able to comprehend them, or know their number. Although we abide in the stage of non-retrogression, we cannot understand it. O Bhagavat, such worlds as these are incalculable and limitless. Then the Buddha addressed the assembly of the great Bodhisattvas, saying, O sons of a virtuous family, I will now explain it clearly to you. Suppose all these worlds, whether or not a particle was left in them, were reduced to particles, and each particle represented a kalpa. The period of time since I became a Buddha would exceed this by hundreds of thousands of myriads of kois of naota s of incalculable kalpa s. Since then I have constantly been residing in the Sa world, teaching the Dharma and inspiring sentient beings. I have also been leading and benefiting sentient beings in incalculable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kois of naota s of other worlds. O sons of a virtuous family! During this interim I explained about the Buddha Dvakara and others. Furthermore, I also said that they had entered Parinirvana. I have explained such things through skillful means. O sons of a virtuous family! If any sentient being comes to me, I perceive the dullness or sharpness of his faith and other faculties with my Buddha. According to the way I should bring them to the path, I, myself, proclaim different names and lifespans in various places. In each case I have also clearly stated that I would enter Parinirvana. Through various skillful means I have explained subtle teachings and have made the sentient beings rejoice. O sons of a virtuous family! To those beings whom the Tathagata perceives as taking pleasure in the inferior teachings, who have few qualities and grave dilemmas, he teaches that the Buddha attained highest, complete enlightenment after he renounced household life in his young age. However, it has been a very long time indeed since I attained Buddhahood. I give such an explanation only to lead and inspire the sentient beings to enter the Buddha path through skillful means. O sons of a virtuous family! The sutras that the Tathagata has expounded are all to save the sentient beings. Whether the Tathagata teaches about himself or others, whether he reveals his form or that of others, whether he shows his acts or those of others, everything he says is true, never false. 224. 42c. Chapter 16. Why is this? Because the Tathagata perceives all the marks of the triple world as they really are, that there is no birth and death, coming or going. That there is also no existence or extinction in the world, truth or falsehood, sameness or difference. The Tathagata does not view the triple world as sentient beings in the triple world see it. The Tathagata perceives such things clearly and without mistakes. Since sentient beings have various natures, desires, behaviors, thoughts, and distinctions, the Tathagata, wanting to cause them to plant roots of good merit, has explained various teachings through a variety of examples, explanations, and illustrations. He has not desisted from doing Buddha acts even for a single moment, and in this way it has been an extremely long time since I attained Buddhahood. My lifespan is immeasurable and incalculable. I abide forever without entering Parinirvana. O sons of a virtuous family! The lifespan that IRST attained through practicing the Bodhisattva path has not yet expired. It is twice as great as the number previously mentioned. Although I do not actually enter Parinirvana, I proclaim that I do. It is through this skillful means that the Tathagata leads and inspires sentient beings. Why is this? Because if the Buddha abides a long time in this world, Those who have few qualities do not plant roots of good merit, acquire poor and superficial characters, are attached to the desires of the VE senses, and enter into the web of illusions and false views. If they see the Tathgata always existing without extinction, they then become proud, self-willed, and negligent. The thought that the Buddha is difficult to meet and that he is to be respected cannot awaken in them. That is why the Tathgata teaches, through skillful means, saying, O monks, you should know that the appearance of the Buddhas in the world is very difficult to encounter. Why is this? Because some of those with little merit may not see the Buddha during the passage of immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myrs of kois of kalpas. For this reason I say, O monks, it is difficult to meet the Tathgata. 225. 43. The Lotus Sutra. Hearing such words, the thought that it is very difficult to meet the Tathgata will certainly awaken in these sentient beings. Longing and yearning for the Buddha, they will plant roots of good merit. For this reason, although the Tathgata does not really pass into extinction, he nevertheless says he does. Furthermore, O sons of a virtuous family, the teaching of all the Buddha Tathgatas is exactly like this. It is entirely true, never false, all for the sake of saving sentient beings. Suppose there were an excellent doctor. He is wise, knowledgeable. His prescriptions are effective, and he has skillfully cured a variety of diseases. This man has many sons, say 10, 20, or even 100 in number. For some reason, he has to go far off to another country and, while he is away, his children, whom he has left behind, drink some poison. The poison starts to take effect and they roll on the ground in agony. At this moment their father returns home. Some of the children who have taken the poison are delirious, while others are not. Seeing their father in the distance, they all rejoice greatly and kneeling respectfully address him, saying, It is good that you have returned safely. In our ignorance we took this poison by mistake. We entreat you to cure and save us, and restore us to life. Seeing his children suffering in this way, the father searches for bean seal herbs possessed of good color, aroma, and ava, according to the medical manual. Blending them together after grinding and sifting, he gives the mixture to the children and says, This is an extremely beneficial medicine with good color, aroma, and ava. All of you take it. It will quickly remove your pain and you will never be afflicted again. Then the children who have not become delirious see this beneficial medicine of good color and aroma, and immediately take it. The affliction is completely removed and they are cured. The remaining children, those who are delirious, seeing their father coming to them, rejoice and ask him to seek a cure for their illness. Although he offers them the medicine, they 226. Chapter 16. Will not take it. Why is this? The poison has so deeply penetrated them that they have become delirious. They do not think that the medicine with good color and aroma is good. The father thinks, These children are to be pitied. The poison has completely warped their minds. Although they rejoiced upon seeing me and sought a cure, they will not take this beneficial medicine. I will now cause them to Take this medicine through skillful means. Then he says to them, you should know that I am now old and feeble, close to death. I will now leave this beneficial medicine here. You should take it. Do not worry about not recovering. Having left these instructions, he goes to another country and sends a messenger back home to tell them, your father has already died. Upon hearing that their father is dead, the children become very distressed and think, if our father had lived, he would have taken pity on us and protected us. But now, abandoning us, he has died in a distant country. They now consider themselves orphans, having no one to rely upon. Through constant grieving their minds become clear, and only then do they realize that the medicine has any color, aroma, and odor. They immediately take it and the poison is completely driven out. The father, hearing that all his children have completely recovered, immediately returns and makes his appearance. The Buddha then asked the Bodhisattvas, O sons of a virtuous family, do you think there is anyone who would say that this good doctor is guilty of lying? The Bodhisattvas replied, no, we do not, O Bhagavat. The Buddha said, I am just like this. Since I became a Buddha, immeasurable, limitless, hundreds of thousands of myriads of kois of naotas of incalculable kalpas have passed. Though for the sake of sentient beings, I use skillful means and say that I will enter parinirvana, there is no one who could rightly say that I am guilty of falsehood. 227. 43b. The Lotus Sutra. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. Since I attained Buddhahood, immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kois of incalculable kalpas have passed. I have been constantly teaching the Dharma through these immeasurable kalpas, leading and inspiring innumerable kois of sentient beings, and enabling them to enter the Buddha path. Using skillful means, I have manifested the state of nirvana to bring sentient beings to this path. Yet I have not actually entered nirvana, but continually abide here expounding the Dharma. Although I am always among these erring beings, with my transcendent powers, I prevent them from seeing me. The sentient beings, seeing me enter perfect extinction, earnestly revere my relics, and, led with longing, yearn for me. When the sentient beings become sincere, mild, and receptive, and, wanting wholeheartedly to meet the Buddha, are willing to give unsparingly of their bodies and lives, then I, together with the Sangha, will appear on Mount Draka. I will declare this to sentient beings. Although I am always here without extinction, through the power of skillful means, I manifest extinction and non-extinction. 228. Chapter 16. If there are any sentient beings in other worlds who respect and believe in me, I will also teach them the highest Dharma. Not knowing this, you only think that I have entered parinirvana. I see all sentient beings submerged in the ocean of suffering. That is why, by not manifesting my form, I cause them to yearn for me. Then, after awakening this longing, I appear and expound the Dharma. Such are my transcendent powers. For innumerable kalpas, I have constantly resided on Mount Draka and elsewhere. When sentient beings see themselves amidst a conflagration At the end of a kalpa. It is in fact my tranquil land. Always full of devas and humans. All the gardens and palaces are adorned with various gems. The jewel trees abound with herbs and fruits. And the sentient beings are joyful among them. The devas beat heavenly drums, making constant and varied music. They rain down mudravas upon the Buddha and the great assembly. Although my pure land never decays, the sentient beings see it as ravaged by eye, and torn with anxiety and distress. They believe it is LLED with these things, because of their misdeeds. These erring sentient beings do not hear the name of the three treasures. 229. 43c. The Lotus Sutra. For incalculable kalpas. But all who cultivate merit, and are receptive and honest, will see me residing here, expounding the Dharma. For the sake of these sentient beings, I teach that the lifespan of the Buddha is immeasurable. To those who, after a long time, finally see the Buddha, I teach that it is difficult to meet him. Such is the power of my wisdom. The light of my wisdom illuminates immeasurably, and my lifespan is of innumerable kalpas. This has been achieved through long practice. You wise ones, do not give in to doubt. Banish all doubt forever. The Buddha's words are true, never false. It is like the physician who proclaimed his own death, although it was untrue. He did this to cure his delirious sons, through excellent skillful means. So no one could say he really spoke falsehood. I, also, being the Father of the world, cure those who suffer. To the deluded and unenlightened I say that I have entered nirvana, although, in fact, I am really here. For if they were to see me, they would become lazy and arrogant, attached to the desires of the VE senses. They would fall into the troubled states of being, always aware of which sentient beings practice the path and which do not. 230. 44. Chapter 16. I teach the Dharma in various ways, according to their ability to be saved. I am always thinking, by what means can I cause sentient beings to be able to enter the highest path, and quickly attain the Dharma. 231. Chapter 17. Description of merits. Thereupon, when the great assembly heard the Buddha explain that his life's span was of such a great number of kalpas, an immeasurable, limitless, incalculable number of sentient beings were greatly benefited. Then the Bhagavat addressed Bodhisattva Masattva Maitreya, saying, O Ajita, when I explained the great length of this Tathagatas lifespan, sentient beings, equal to the sons of the 680 myriads of kois of Naotas of Ganges rivers in number, gained understanding of the truth of the non-origination of all dharmas. Furthermore, 1,000 times this number of Bodhisattva Masattvas attained the power of recollecting what they hear, and Bodhisattva Masattvas equal to the number of particles in one world attained unhindered eloquence. Moreover, there were Bodhisattva Masattvas equal to the particles in one world who attained the power of tenacious memory which revolves hundreds of thousands of myriads of kois of immeasurable times. There were also Bodhisattva Masattvas equal to the number of particles in the great manifold cosmos who turned the irreversible wheel of the Dharma, and Bodhisattva Masattvas equal to the Burr of particles in two medium-sized manifold cosmos who turned the purid wheel of the Dharma. Furthermore, there were bodhisattva s equal to the number of particles in one small-sized cosmos who will be able to attain highest complete enlightenment after 8 births, bodhisattva s equal to the number of particles in the fourfold continents who will attain highest complete enlightenment after 4 births, bodhisattva s equal to the number of particles in the threefold 4 continents who will attain highest complete enlightenment after 3 births, bodhisattva s equal to the number of particles in the twofold 4 continents who will attain highest complete enlightenment after 2 births, and bodhisattva s equal to the number of particles in the 4 continents who will attain highest complete enlightenment after 1 birth. Moreover, there were sentient 233. The Lotus Sutra. Beings equal to the number of particles in the eightfold great manifold cosmos, in all of whom the thought of highest, complete enlightenment had awakened. When the Buddha explained that these bodhisattvas had attained deep insight into the Dharma, Mdrava and Great Mdrava, Oas rained down from the sky, scattering over the Buddhas who were seated on lion seats under immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kois of jewel trees, and they scattered over Kyamuni Buddha and the Tathagata Prabhataratna, who had attained Parinirva long ago, both of whom were sitting on the lion seat in a 7-jeweled stupa. They also scattered over all of the great bodhisattvas and the fourfold assembly. Finally, powdered sandalwood and aloeswood incense also rained down, and heavenly drums resounded in the sky with a deep and beautiful sound. 1,000 kinds of heavenly garments, draped with strings of pearl, jewels, and wish-falling gems, rained down, ling the 9 directions. Price. Less incense burned in various jeweled incense holders, and its fragrance spread spontaneously throughout the great assembly as an offering. Above each Buddha there were bodhisattvas holding banners and umbrellas that extended upward to the Brahma world. These bodhisattvas praised the Buddhas by singing immeasurable verses with beautiful voices. Then Bodhisattva Maitreya rose from his seat, leaving his right shoulder bed, faced the Buddha with the palms of his hands pressed together, and spoke these verses. The Buddha has taught this marvelous Dharma that we have never heard before. The Bhagavat has great powers, and his lifespan is immeasurable. Innumerable heirs of the Buddha attained the Binay of the Dharma after hearing the Bhagavat's explanation, and became completely led with joy. Some attained the stage of non-retrogression, and others the power of recollection. Some attained unhindered eloquence, and others the power of tenacious memory. 234. 44b. Chapter 17. Which revolves many kois of times. There were also bodhisattvas equal to the number of particles in the great cosmos, who each turned the irreversible wheel of the Dharma. There were also bodhisattvas equal to the number of particles in a medium cosmos, who each turned the purid wheel of the Dharma. There were also bodhisattvas equal to the number of particles in a small cosmos, who after 8 births will complete the Buddha path. There were also bodhisattvas equal to 4 times, 3 times, and 2 times the number of particles in the 4 continents, who after 4, 3, and 2 births will attain Buddhahood. There were also bodhisattvas, equal to the number of particles, in the 4 continents, who will obtain omniscience after 1 birth, and sentient beings, having heard about the great length of the Buddha's lifespan, attained immeasurable results that were pure and without corruption. There were also sentient beings, equal to the number of particles, in the 8 worlds, in whom, having heard about the lifespan of the Buddha. 235. The Lotus Sutra. The thought of highest enlightenment awakened. The Bhagavatas taught the Dharma that is immeasurable and inconceivable, and from which come benefits as limitless as space. Heavenly Mdrava and great Mdravaoas rained down, and Sakras and Brahmas came from innumerable Buddha lands, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. Sandalwood and aloes wood powder, scattered like birds in the sky, flying in all directions, and rained down over the Buddhas. Heavenly drums resounded spontaneously and beautifully in the air, and thousands of myriads of koyas of heavenly garments oated whirling down. Precious incense was burned in various jeweled incense holders, its fragrance naturally penetrating everywhere. In homage to the Bhagavats, the great assembly of these bodhisattvas held myriads of koyas of tall and beautiful 7 jeweled banners and umbrellas, which extended gradually to the Brahma world. They hung jeweled eggs and excellent banners in the presence of each of these Buddhas, and chanted thousands of myriads of verses in praise of the Tathagatas. Such things had never been experienced before. Hearing of the Buddha's immeasurable lifespan, all rejoiced, and, the Buddha's name being heard. 236. 44c. Chapter 17. Throughout the 10 directions, sentient beings were greatly benefited. Everyone became endowed with the roots of good merit, and the thought of highest, complete enlightenment awakened in them. At that time the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Masattva Maitreya, saying, O Ajita, those sentient beings who hear about the great length of the Buddha's lifespan, and can awaken even a single thought of willing acceptance, will all obtain immeasurable merit. If there are sons and daughters of a good family who, for the sake of highest, complete enlightenment, practice the VE perfections of giving, Gno, good conduct, Lo, perseverance, Nti, effort, Vriya, and meditation, Dina, with the exception of the perfection of wisdom, Praj, for 80 myriads of koyas of Nauta s. Of Kalpa s, their merit is not even 100th, 1,000th, 100,000th of a myriad of a koi of the former person's merit. It is so small that it cannot be conceived of through calculation or illustration. If there are sons and daughters of a virtuous family who possess such merit as the former, they will never revert from highest, complete enlightenment. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. Those who seek the Buddha's wisdom will practice the VE perfections for 80 myriads of koyas of Nauta s of Kalpa s. Throughout these Kalpa s they will pay homage to the Buddhas, Pratyeka Buddha s, Avaka s, and all the Bodhisattvas by offering rare delicacies, excellent garments, and bedding, or by building monasteries out of sandalwood. which are adorned with gardens. Through offering such a variety of precious things throughout all of these kalpas, they will transfer the merits to the Buddha path. 237. The Lotus Sutra. Those who further maintain good conduct, which is pure and without corruption, will seek what the Buddhas have praised as the highest path. Those who further practice perseverance and abide in the stage of self-control will be of constant mind. Even if subjected to ill treatment, they will continue to endure, even if they are scorned and persecuted by those who think, through their excessive pride, that they have attained the truth. Those who make diligent efforts and are in their intentions for immeasurable koyas of kalpas will be intent and never lazy. And those who abide in tranquil places for immeasurable kalpas will always discipline their minds, avoiding sleep, while either sitting or wandering. For these reasons they will abide in various meditations. Their minds are and unwavering for 80 myriads of koyas of kalpas. Maintaining the merit of this concentration, they seek the highest path, saying, I will attain omniscience. Then they will achieve this perfection of meditation. Practicing thus for hundreds of thousands of myriads of koyas of kalpas, their merits will be as mentioned above. If those sons and daughters of a virtuous family, upon hearing me explain about my lifespan. 238. Chapter 17. In this way, are able to awaken even a single thought of willing acceptance, their merit exceeds that of the former. Such will also be the merit of those who have no doubts whatsoever, and believe deeply even for a single moment. Those bodhisattvas who practice the path for a period of immeasurable kalpas, and who believe my explanation of my lifespan, when they hear it, are the ones who fully accept this sutra, saying, let us in the future devote a long life to saving sentient beings, just as the present Bhagavat, king among the Kyas, who roars the lion's roar on the terrace of enlightenment, is fearless in teaching the Dharma. Let us in the future be respected by all, and teach of the lifespan. While seated upon the terrace of enlightenment, those who have profound thoughts, are pure, honest and learned, have good recollection, and understand the Buddha's words in accordance with what is appropriate, will have no doubts regarding this. Furthermore, O Ajita, those who hear of the great length of the Buddha's lifespan and understand the intent of these words will obtain limitless merit that will give rise to the highest wisdom of the Tathagata. How much more merit will they gain who extensively hear this sutra, move others to listen to it, preserve it, move others to preserve it, copy it, or move others to copy it, and pay homage to the sutra by offering oas, incense, necklaces, ags, banners, canopies, lamps of scented oil, and ghee. The merit of these people will be immeasurable and limitless. They will be able to achieve omniscience. 239. 45b. The Lotus Sutra. O Ajita, those sons and daughters of a virtuous family, who, hearing me teach the great length of the Buddha's lifespan, wholeheartedly accept it, will see the Buddha, who always dwells on Mount Draka together with the great bodhisattvas and avakas, teaching the Dharma to the asm. Bly. Moreover, they will see the land of this Sa world, which is made of Lapis lazuli, level and even. The network of roads is laid out like a chess board, paved with jamnda gold and bordered with jeweled trees. All its foundations, towers, and balconies will be made of treasures, and the multitude of these bodhisattvas will be dwelling in them. Those who can see such things should know that to be able to do so is a sign of their full and willing acceptance. Furthermore, after the Tathagatas Parinirva, those who hear this sutra do not disparage it and rejoice in their hearts, should know that this is a sign of their full and willing acceptance. How much more do those who recite and preserve this sutra show a sign of full and willing acceptance? Such are the people who hold the Tathagata in respect. O Ajita! These sons and daughters of a virtuous family do not have to build stupas and monasteries for me, make chambers for the monks, or pay homage to the Sangha with the 4 kinds of offerings. Why is this? Because these sons and daughters of a virtuous family recite and preserve this sutra, which means they have already built stupas, made chambers for the monks, and paid homage to the Sangha. They have already erected 7 jeweled stupas for the Buddha's relics, which are tall and wide, gradually narrowing to a pinnacle that reaches to the Brahma world. They have hung various banners, canopies, and variegated jeweled bells, offered owers, incense, necklaces, scented powder, and ointment, burned incense, played drums, music, lutes, pipes, harps, and various dances, and adorned the stupas and relics of the Buddha by praising with verses and songs in beautiful voices. In this way they have already paid homage for immeasurable thousands of myriads of koyas of kalpas. O Ajita! After my parinirva, those who hear this sutra and who can preserve it, copy it and move others to copy it, have already built chambers for monks, as well as 32 red sandalwood monasteries of the height of 8 tla trees, wide and any, housing hundreds of thousands of monks. The monasteries they have built have gardens, ponds, paths for wandering, meditation caves, garments, food and drink, bedding, medicine, and are replete. 240. 45c. Chapter 17. With all other necessities. Such hundreds of thousands of myriads of koyas of monks' chambers and towers will be incalculable. With these they pay homage to me and to the assembly of monks. I have explained that, for this reason, after the Tathagatas Parinirva, those who preserve and recite this sutra, and explain it to others, who copy it or move others to copy it and who pay it homage to it no longer have to build stupas, monasteries, or erect chambers for the monks, or revere the Sangha. How much less do those who preserve this sutra and practice the perfections of giving, gna, good conduct, lo, perseverance, nti, effort, vriya, meditation, dhyana, and wisdom, praj, need to do so. Their merit is the highest, immeasurable and limitless. It is immeasurable and limitless in the same way that space is immeasurable and limitless in the 10 directions, east, west, south, north, the 4 intermediate directions, and the zenith and nadir, and they will thus quickly obtain omniscience. Those who recite and preserve this sutra, who explain it for others, who copy it or move others to copy it, build monuments and make chambers for monks, revere and praise the Sangha of Avakas, and praise the merits of the Bodhisattvas in hundreds of thousands of myriads of koyas of ways, those who explain this Lotus Sutra for the sake of others in accordance with its meaning through various illustrations, who preserve pure conduct and dwell together with gentle people, who are patient and have no anger, in their intentions and always hold meditation in high regard, who attain found samai and make vigorous efforts, persevere in all good practices, whose wisdom is keen and who answer difficult questions skillfully, O Ajita. Those sons and daughters of a virtuous family, who preserve and recite this sutra after my Parinirva will attain good qualities like those mentioned above. You should know that such people have already set out for the race of enlightenment, are near to highest, complete enlightenment, and are seated under the Bodhi tree. O Ajita! Wherever these sons and daughters of a virtuous family sit, stand, or walk, there a monument should be built, and all of the devas and humans should pay homage to these monuments as they would do to those of the Buddha. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. 241. 46. The Lotus Sutra. If after my Parinirva there are people who preserve this sutra, they will have immeasurable merits. As described above, such people have already given various kinds of offerings. They have built stupas for the relics, adorned with the 7 treasures, with a pole on the top which is very tall and thick, gradually tapering upward, until it reaches the Brahma world. These stupas have been adorned with thousands of myriads of coils of jeweled bells, that ring with beautiful sounds as the wind blows. For immeasurable kalpas such people have revered these stupas by offering oas, incense, necklaces, heavenly garments, and various kinds of music, while burning scented ointments and butter oil lamps, which illuminate them on all sides. In the troubled world of the decadent Dharma, those who preserve this sutra will have already finished paying homage in the way just described. If they can preserve this sutra, it will be as if they had paid homage in the presence of the Buddha, and had built monasteries for monks out of sandalwood from Mount Oxhead, and 32 buildings as tall as 8 tla trees, and offered delicious food, excellent garments, bedding, hundreds of thousands of dwellings, gardens, ponds, paths for wandering, and meditation caves, all of any quality. 242. Chapter 17. Those who have the thought of willing acceptance, who preserve, recite, copy, or move others to copy this sutra, and who pay it homage by scattering oas, incense, and scented powders on it, and by constantly lighting lamps of fragrant oil made from sumana's oas, kampaka wood, and atimukta grass. Those who pay it homage in this way will attain immeasurable merit. Their merit will be as limitless as empty space. How much more is the merit of those who preserve this sutra, who carry out the practice of giving, gno, good conduct, lo, perseverance, nti, and meditation, dina, who never get angry or slander others, who honor monuments, and are humble before monks, and who are free from pride, always contemplate wisdom, never get angry at difficult questions, and teach in accordance with the questioner's capacity. If there is anyone who can carry out these practices, their merit will be immeasurable. If one were to see such an expounder of the Dharma, Who has perfected merits like these? One should scatter heavenly owers over him, and provide him with heavenly garments. Bow until one's forehead touches his feet, and think of him as if he were a Buddha. Furthermore, one should think that before long the expounder of the Dharma, 243. 46b. The Lotus Sutra will approach the terrace of enlightenment, attain the unconditioned state of non-corruption, and extensively benedevers and humans. Wherever he dwells, walks, or sits, or recites even a single verse, a stupa should be built, made beautiful with adornments, and paid homage in various ways. Wherever the heirs of the Buddha may reside, there the Buddha himself will take pleasure in its use, and will always be dwelling, walking, and sitting within. 244. Chapter 18. The Merits of Joyful Acceptance. Thereupon Bodhisattva Masattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat! If sons and daughters of a virtuous family rejoice in hearing this sutra, how much merit do they acquire? And he spoke in verse, saying, after the Bhagavat's parinirva, if there is anyone who hears this sutra, and rejoices in it, how much merit do they acquire? Then the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Masattva Maitreya, saying, O Ajita! After the Tathagatas parinirva, suppose those monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen and other wise ones, whether old or young, having rejoiced in hearing this sutra, take leave of the Dharma assembly and go to other places, either dwelling in monasteries or tranquil places, cities, towns, villages, or forests, and teach what they have heard to their parents, relatives, good friends, and acquaintances according to the various capacities of these people. Having heard the teaching, they will rejoice and go on to teach it to others. These people having heard it will also joyfully teach it to others in turn, and so it continues in this way until it reaches the 50th person. O Ajita! I will now explain about the merit which this 50th son or daughter of a virtuous family acquires from joyful acceptance. You should listen attentively. Suppose that in the 400s of myriads of kois of incalculable worlds, there are sentient beings in the 6 transmigratory states and of the 4 modes of birth, born from an egg, born from the womb, from moisture, or born spontaneously, either with or without form, either with or without consciousness, either unconscious or not unconscious, having no legs, 2, 4, or many legs, and that, among the number of such beings, there is a person who seeks to acquire merit and gives pleasurable things to. 245. 46c. The Lotus Sutra. These beings, according to their desire, he gives each of those sentient beings gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mother of pearl, agate, coral, amber, and other treasures, yours such as would this continent of Jambudvipa, as well as elephant carts, horse carts, and palaces and towers made out of the 7 treasures. Having performed such acts of giving for a full 80 years, this great donor thinks, I have already given these sentient beings such pleasurable things as they wished. Yet now these sentient beings are old and feeble. They are over 80 years old, with white hair and wrinkles, and they will die before long. I should now instruct them by means of the Buddha Dharma. He immediately gathers these sentient beings together, inspires them by proclaiming the Dharma, and gladdens them by revealing its benefits. In An instant they all successively attain the RST stage of the Avaka S called Stream Winner, Srotapanna, the second stage called Once Returner, Sakmin, the third stage called Non-Returner, Angmin, and Nali. The stage of the Arhat, free from corruption, entering profound meditations, gaining complete mastery of all, and attaining the 8 liberations. What do you think about this? Has this great donor acquired abundant merit or not? Maitreya addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, the donor's merit is extremely great, immeasurable and limitless. Even if this donor had only given all those pleasurable things to sentient beings, the merit would have been immeasurable. How much greater is this donor's merit after having caused them to attain arhatship? The Buddha addressed Maitreya, saying, I will now clarify this for you. This person has given all these pleasurable things to the sentient beings in the 6 states of existence in 400s of myriads of kois of incalcular BLE worlds, and enabled them to attain arhatship. The merit he has attained cannot be compared with that of even the 50th person who, after hearing even a single verse of the Lotus Sutra, received it with joy. It would be even less than 100th, 1,000th, 100,000th of a myriad of a koi of that person's merit. O Ajita! In this way the merit attained by even the 50th person who rejoiced in hearing this Lotus Sutra is immeasurable, limitless, and incalculable. 246. Chapter 18. Label. How much more so is the merit of the RST person who heard it in the assembly and rejoiced in it. His merit is even greater, it is immeasurable, limitless, and incalculable, and is not to be apprehended through metaphor. Furthermore, O Ajita, if anyone approaches the monasteries in order to listen to this sutra and hears it for even a single moment, whether seated or standing, through this merit they will be reborn into a place where they will gain beautiful and excellent elephant carts, horse carts, palanquins made out of rare treasures, and will ride on a heavenly vehicle. Moreover, if any one sits in a place where the Dharma is taught, and if another comes along and they invite that person to sit down and listen, or if they offer that person part of their own seat, through this merit they will be reborn in the place where Sakra dwells, in the place where Brahmas dwell, or in a place where a noble emperor dwells. O Ajita! If anyone addresses others, saying, there is a sutra called the Lotus Sutra. Let us go together and listen to it. And if their instruction is accepted and the other person listens to it for even a single moment, then through this merit the former person will be reborn in the same place as the Bodhisattva who has acquired the Dras. They will have keen faculties and wisdom. For hundreds and thousands of myriads of lives they will never be deaf and dumb, nor will they have fetid breath. Their tongues will never be diseased, nor will they have diseases of the mouth. Their teeth will never be dirty, black, or yellow, nor gapped, nor will any be missing, irregular, or crooked. Their lips will not be drooping, pursed, or twisted, and their lips will never have cankers, scabs, be cracked, misshapen, thick or fat, black, or ugly. They will have no disagreeable features. Their noses will never be at or thin, crooked or twisted. They will never be dark complected, with a narrow or long face that is hollow-cheeked or twisted. They will have no mark that is displeasing to others. Their lips, tongues, and teeth will all be very beautiful. Their noses will be long, high and straight. Their faces will be round, their eyebrows arched and long. Their foreheads will be broad and even. They will thus have a perfect human countenance. Wherever they may be born, life after life, they will meet a Buddha, hear the Dharma, and accept the teaching. 247. 47a. The Lotus Sutra. Look, O Ajita. The merit of that person who moved others to listen to the Dharma is like this. How much more is the merit of those who single-mindedly listen, teach, and recite the sutra, explain it for others in the great assembly, and practice as they explain to others. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. If anyone hears this sutra in the Dharma assembly and joyfully teaches others even a single verse, and if in this way it is taught from one person to another until it reaches the 50th one, the merit that this last person will attain shall be as I will now explain. Suppose there were a great donor who gave things to an immeasurable number of people as they wished for a full 80 years. He will see that they are old and feeble, with white hair and wrinkled faces, with gaps between their teeth and withered bodies, and that they will die before long. He will think that he should now teach them and enable them to attain the fruits of the Buddha path. He will teach nirvana, the true Dharma, through skillful means, saying, the world is impermanent, like splashes of water, bubbles, a mirage. The feeling of repulsion for it should quickly awaken in you. All of them, hearing this teaching, attain arhatship and perfect. 248. 47b. Chapter 18. The 6 transcendent powers, the 3 sciences, and the 8 liberations. The merit of the 50th person who joyfully hears a single verse is so much greater than this great donor's that it is beyond illustration. The merit of those who successively hear the Lotus Sutra in this way is immeasurable. How much more is the merit of the RST person who heard it with joy amid the Dharma assembly? If there is a person who moves another to listen to the Lotus Sutra, saying, this sutra is profound and difficult to encounter, even in thousands of myriads of kois of kalpas. And if this person's urging is accepted, and the other one goes to hear it, and listens for a single moment, the merit that the former person will acquire shall be as I will now explain. Life after life they will have no diseases of the mouth. Their teeth will have no gaps, nor be yellow or black. Their lips will be neither fat, thick, or thin, nor will they ever have a disagreeable countenance. And their tongues will never be dry, black, or short. Their noses will be high, long, and straight. Their foreheads will be broad and even. Their faces will be completely handsome, pleasing to others who see them. They will never have fetid breath, and their mouths will always emit. 249. The Lotus Sutra. The fragrance of a blue lotus oa. I will now explain the merit of the one who approaches the monastery, wanting to hear the Lotus Sutra, and who joyfully listens to it, even for a single moment. Later they will be born among devas and humans, and will acquire beautiful elephant and horse carts, and palanquins made out of rare treasures, and will ride on a heavenly vehicle. If one is where the Dharma is taught, and invites another to sit there and listen to the sutra. Through the merit which is thus acquired, one will attain the seats of Sakra, Brahma, or the noble emperors. How much more is the merit of a person who single-mindedly listens to this sutra, explains its meaning, and practices in accordance with its teaching. Their merit will thus be limitless. 250. 47c. Chapter 19. The benefits obtained by an expounder of the Dharma. Thereupon the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Masattva Satata Samit Piyukta, saying, if sons or daughters of a virtuous family preserve this Lotus Sutra, recite, explain, and copy it, they will attain 800 qualities of the eye, 1200 qualities of the ear, 800 qualities of the nose, 1200 qualities of the tongue, 800 qualities of the body, and 1200 qualities of the mind. These qualities will adorn the 6 sense faculties, purifying them all through the natural bodily eyes given them by their parents, which are thus pured. Those sons and daughters of a virtuous family will see the mountains, forests, rivers, and oceans both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, all the way from the lowest hell up as far as the highest summit of the universe. They will also see all the sentient beings there, perceive and know the causes and consequences of their deeds and of their states of birth. Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate upon the meaning of this verse, spoke these verses. Listen to the qualities of those in the great assembly who can fearlessly teach this Lotus Sutra. Such people will attain the 800 qualities of the excellent eye. Adorned with these qualities, their eyes are extremely pure. With the eyes given by their parents, they see both all the manifold cosmos, within and beyond Mount Meru, Sumayu, up to Mount Kakrava. 251. The Lotus Sutra, and many other mountains, forests, oceans, rivers, and streams, down to the lowest hell, and up to the summit of the universe. There they see all the sentient beings, although they have not yet attained the divine eyes. Their power of sight will be like this. Furthermore, O Satata Samit Piyukta, if sons or daughters of a virtuous family preserve, recite, explain, or copy this sutra, they will attain the 1200 qualities of the ear. Through their pure ears they will hear, both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, down as far as the lowest hell and up as high as the summit of the universe. They will hear all kinds of voices and sounds, such as the sound of elephants, the neighing of horses, the sound of cows and carts, cries, weeping, the sound of conchs and drums, gongs and bells, laughter, talking, male and female voices, the voices of boys and girls, righteous and unrighteous voices, the sounds of suffering and happiness, the voices of common and holy people, pleasant and unpleasant sounds, the voices of Deva-s, Nga-s, Yaka-s, Gandharva-s, Asura-s, Garua-s, Kinara-s, Mauraga-s, the sounds of Ai, water, wind, beings in the hells, animals, hungry ghosts, monks, nuns, Avaka-s, Pratyekabuddha-s, Bodhi Sattvas, and Buddhas. In short, although they do not have the divine faculty of hearing, they will always hear and know everything both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, through the pured, natural bodily ears given by their parents. They distinguish all these various sounds, and yet their faculty of hearing remains unharmed. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. The ear, given by the parents, is pure and spotless. With this natural ear, they hear the sounds of the manifold cosmos. They hear the sounds of elephants. 252. 48. Chapter 19. Horses, carts and cows. The sounds of gongs, bells, conchs, drums, and va with macron s. The sounds of harps, bamboo pipes, and lutes. Pure and pleasing songs. And even though they hear these, they are not attached to them. They hear innumerable kinds of human voices, and yet they are able to discriminate them. Furthermore, they hear divine sounds, subtle melodies, male and female voices, the sounds of boys and girls. They also hear the cries of the kalavika and jvaka birds in the mountains, around the rivers, or in deep valleys. They hear as well various sounds of pain and suffering from the hells, and sounds of hungry ghosts, who, suffering from hunger and thirst, are in search of food and drink. When the asuras living along the ocean speak to each other and utter great cries, such expounders of the Dharma, living here, hear all of these various voices from afar, and yet their faculty of hearing is unharmed. Those expounders of the Dharma hear all birds and animals in the 10 directions calling to each other. The expounders of the Dharma dwelling here also hear the voices in the Bsvara and Ubhaktsna heavens above the Brahma world, all the way up to the summit of the universe. The expounders of the Dharma dwelling here hear all of the monks and nuns either reciting the sutra. 253. 48b. The Lotus Sutra, or explaining it to others. They also hear such voices as those of the Bodhisattvas reciting the sutra, teaching it to others, compiling the collections, and explaining their meaning to others. Those who preserve this Lotus Sutra will all hear the Buddhas, the great seers, teaching the subtle Dharma to the great assembly, and leading and inspiring sentient beings. They will hear all the sounds, both within and beyond the manifold cosmos, down to the lowest hell, and up to the summit of the universe. And yet their faculty of hearing remains unharmed. Because their faculty of hearing is keen, they are able to discriminate these sounds. Although those who preserve this Lotus Sutra have not yet attained the divine faculty of hearing, they can simply use the ears given by their parents. Their qualities are exactly like this. Furthermore, O Satata Samit Piyukta, if sons or daughters of a good family preserve this sutra, recite, explain, or copy it, they will perfect the 800 qualities of the nose. With this pure faculty of the nose they will smell all kinds of fragrances both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, such as the fragrance of Sumanas, Jti, Malik, Kampaka, Pala, Oas, and red, blue, and white lotus oas, the scent of blossoming and fruit-bearing trees like sandalwood, aloeswood, and tagara wood, the aroma of the leaves of the tamla tree, thousands of myriads of sorts of fragrances of blended incense, either powdered, shaped into balls, or made into scented ointments. Those who preserve this sutra will be able to distinguish all of these fragrances while remaining in a single place. They will be able to Distinguish the sense of sentient beings such as elephants, horses, cows, sheep, men and women, boys and girls, grasses, trees, and shrubs or any kind of. 254. Chapter 19. Odor, either nearby or at a distance. They will also be able to unerringly distinguish all kinds of scents. Those who preserve this sutra, although they dwell here, can smell all kinds of divine fragrances in heaven, such as the fragrance of Prasitraka and Kovidra trees, Mdrava, great Ma with Macron Nda with Macron Rava, Majaka, and great Majaka Oas, or the fragrance of sandalwood and aloeswood powder, and various kinds of powdered and blended incense. Among these divine fragrances, there is not one whose scent they cannot distinguish. They can smell the fragrance of the bodies of all the devas. They can also smell from afar the fragrance that is emitted when Sakra, the king of devas, is dwelling in his excellent palace, when he is enjoying the desires of the VE senses, or the fragrance that is emitted when he is in the Sudharma hall teaching the Dharma to the 33 devas, or the fragrance that is emitted when he plays in the garden, or the fragrance of the bodies of all the other male and female devas. In this way their faculty of smell reaches up to the Brahma world and to the highest summit of the universe, wherein they can smell the bodies of the devas and the incense the devas burn. They can also smell from afar the fragrance of the Avakas, Pratyekabuddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas and know where they are. Although they can smell all these fragrances, their faculty of smell will not be harmed or misled, and if they want to discriminate and explain these different fragrances to others, they remember them without error. At that time the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this verse, spoke these verses. Their faculty of smell is pure. They can smell and discriminate all kinds of good and bad odors in this world, such as sumanas and jtioas, tamla leaves, sandalwood, aloeswood, and tagara trees, and various fruits and oas. And they also know the fragrance of sentient beings, men and women. 255. 48c. The Lotus Sutra. The Dharma teachers, although dwelling afar, know where these fragrances come from. They smell the scents of the noble emperors of great dignity, the lesser rulers, and their children, subjects and attendants, and know where they are. They can smell the fragrance of the rare jewels that they wear, their underground treasuries, and the noble emperor's bejeweled queens, and also know where they are. They can also smell the ornaments, garments, and necklaces with which people adorn themselves, and the fragrances they anoint themselves with, and know who wears them. Those who preserve this Lotus Sutra can smell the fragrance of the devas and tell whether they are walking, sitting, playing, or transforming themselves, although they dwell here. Those who preserve this sutra know the location of the fragrances of various oas, fruits, and oils in detail. They can smell the scent of sentient beings, either deep in dangerous mountains, or where the sandalwood oas are in bloom, and know where they are. Those who preserve this sutra can smell the scents of sentient beings, either on Mount Kakrava, in the ocean or underground, and know exactly where they are. They can also smell the scents of the male and female asuras and their attendants, and they can discriminate them when they are acting or when at play. 256. 49. Chapter 19. They can also smell the odors of lions, elephants, tigers, wolves, buffaloes, and water buffaloes dwelling in dangerous, precipitous places in the wilderness, and know where they are. They can smell and discriminate exactly the scent of a pregnant woman, and determine whether the embryo will be male or female, without sex organs, or non-human. Through this power of smell, they know in the RST instance if the woman is pregnant, and whether or not it will be carried to full term, and if she will give birth easily and to a happy child. Through this power of the faculty of smell, they know what men and women are thinking, their desires, delusions, and anger, or whether they cultivate goodness. They can also smell gold, silver, and various rare treasures hidden underground, as well as the contents of copper vessels, and completely distinguish them. They can smell various necklaces, and know whether they are valuable or not, even when their prices are undetermined, where they come from and where they are now. They can smell and know all about divine oas such as Mdrava and Majaka oas and Prijta trees. They can also smell and discriminate the difference between superior, mediocre, and inferior fragrances. 257. The Lotus Sutra of heavenly palaces adorned with various jeweled oas. They can also smell and know exactly about those who take pleasure in the heavenly gardens, excellent palaces, towers and Dharma halls. Moreover, they can smell and know exactly whether the devas are listening to the Dharma, are enjoying the desires of the VE senses, or whether they are coming, going, walking, sitting, or lying. They can also smell and know every detail of the garments worn by the heavenly maidens, giving off the fragrance of beautiful oas, and where those maidens ramble in their play. In this way their power of smell reaches all the way up to the Brahma world. They can smell and know exactly the devas entering meditation and emerging from meditation. They can also smell all the way from the Bsvara and Ubhaktsna heavens up to the highest summit of the universe, and know exactly who has been born there for the RST time, and who has emerged. Those who preserve this sutra can smell the monks and know exactly where they are, if they are constantly persevering toward the Dharma, if they are either sitting or walking, reciting this sutra, or if they are diligently meditating under forest trees. They can also smell and know exactly. 258. 49b. Chapter 19. If a bodhisattva is RM in intention, meditating or reciting the sutra, or teaching the Dharma to others, they can also smell and know exactly if the Bhagavat is being honored by all, and if he is teaching the Dharma out of his compassion for sentient beings. Moreover, they can smell and know exactly if the sentient beings in the presence of the Buddha are joyfully listening to the sutra, and are practicing according to the Dharma. Those who preserve this sutra will attain a faculty of smell such as this, even before the Bodhisattva's faculty of smell that is attained from the incorruptible Dharma. Furthermore, O Satata Samitpyukta, if sons and daughters of Ava Tu's family preserve, recite, explain, or copy this sutra, they will attain the 1200 qualities of the tongue. All that they taste, whether of good or bad, of a savory or bland, bitter or astringent, will, through their pure faculty of tongue, come to taste just like the heavenly nectar of immortality. And they will envy nothing unpleasant. If they expound the teaching to the great multitude with their tongues, their voices will be profound and touch the heart. All those in this multitude will be gladdened and pleased. Furthermore, Sakra, Brahma and other Devaputras and heavenly maidens, hearing a sequence of their teaching expounded with such profound voices, will all come to hear it. Dragons, the daughters of Nga-s, Yaka-s, the daughters of Yaka-s, Gandharva-s, the daughters of Gandharva-s, Asura-s, the daughters of Asura-s, Garua-s, the daughters of Garua-s, Kinara-s, the daughters of Kinara-s, Maoraga-s, and the daughters of Maoraga-s will all approach, respect, and honor them in order to listen to their teaching. The monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, kings and princes, ministers and their attendants, and the lesser noble emperors and great noble emperors adorned with the 259. The Lotus Sutra. Treasures and their 1,000 princes and their attendants of the inner and outer households will enter the palace and listen to the teaching. Since these bodhisattvas expound the teaching skillfully, the Brahmins, householders, and the people of their land will attend and honor such bodhisattvas until the end of their lives. All the Avakas, Pratyekabuddhas, bodhisattvas, and Buddhas will always wish to see them. Wherever this person may be, he will teach the Dharma in the presence of the Buddhas there. He will thus be able to preserve the Buddha Dharma entirely as well as utter the profound word of the Dharma. Whereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. Such people, through their pure faculty of taste, will never taste bad of us. Whatever they eat will all become the nectar of immortality. With their profound, subtle voice, they will teach the Dharma to the great assembly, with various explanations and illustrations. Their teaching will touch the hearts of sentient beings. All those who hear them will be gladdened, and honor them with the best offerings. All the Devas, Nga-s, Yaka-s, and Asura-s will come together and listen with respect to the Dharma. If these expounders of the Dharma want their subtle voice to penetrate throughout the manifold cosmos, it will reach wherever they wish. The great and lesser noble emperors, and their 1,000 princes and attendants, will always come and listen to the Dharma, with their palms pressed together, and with respectful thoughts. All the Devas, Nga-s, Yaka-s, Akasa-s, and Pika-s. 260. 49c. Chapter 19. With joyful minds will also always rejoice to come and honor them. All the Devas, such as Brahma, Mra, Vera, Mahesvara, will always come to them. All the Buddhas and their disciples, hearing the sound of his teaching, will always remember and protect him, and at times appear in his presence. Furthermore, O Satata Samit Piyukta, those sons and daughters of a virtuous family who preserve, recite, explain, and copy this sutra will attain 800 qualities of the body. Their bodies will be as pure as clear lapis lazuli, and sentient beings will gladly look upon them. Because of this purity of body, everything will appear therein, the sentient beings in the great manifold cosmos, when they are born or die, whether they are superior or inferior, whether they are fair or ugly, whether they are in the good or bad states of being. The mountain kings, such as Mount Kakrava, Mount Kakrava, Mount Meru, or Mount Mamayu, as well as all the sentient beings who dwell there, will all appear in their body. All those who dwell down as far as the lowest hell and up as high as the summit of the universe will appear in their body. Wherever those Avakas, Pratyekabuddhas, Bodhi Sattvas, or Buddhas are, the Buddhas teach the Dharma, and will appear with their physical images in their body. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. Their bodies are extremely pure, like clear lapis lazuli. All those sentient beings who preserve the Lotus Sutra will gladly look upon them, just as all physical images wreaked in a clear mirror. The Bodhisattvas will see in their own bodies everything in this world. 261. 50. The Lotus Sutra. They alone see it, while no one else does. All those sentient beings, Devas, humans, Asuras, hell-dwellers, hungry ghosts, or animals in the manifold cosmos, will also appear in this body, with their physical images. All the heavenly palaces, which reach as high as the top of the universe, Mount Kakrava, Mount Meru, Mount Mamayu, and the oceans will appear in their bodies. Those Buddhas, Avakas, or Bodhisattvas, heirs of the Buddhas, who are either alone, or who teach the Dharma to the assembly, will all appear in their body, even though they have not yet attained the Dharma body, which is subtle and without corruption. Everything in this world will appear in their pure physical bodies. Furthermore, O Satata Samitpayukta, a son or a daughter of a virtuous family who preserves, recites, explains, or copies this sutra, after the Parinirva of the Tathagata will attain 1200 qualities of the mind. Through their pure faculty of mind, on hearing but a single verse or a single line, they will become versed in the immeasurable and limitless meaning. If, after having understood this meaning, they teach a single line or a single verse for the period of 1 month, 4 months, or 1 year, all the teachings they expound will be entirely characterized by the mark of truth, in accordance with its meaning. If they teach the works on worldly affairs, treatises on political science, or enterprise, all these will be in harmony with the true Dharma. They will completely know the minds of those sentient beings who pass through the 6 transmigratory states in the great manifold cosmos, their workings. 262. Chapter 19. Shifts and fallacies, even though they have not yet attained the uncorrupted wisdom. Their faculty of mind will be pure just like this. Whatever this person contemplates, judges, or expounds will be nothing but the true Buddha Dharma, which has also been taught in the sutras by previous Buddhas. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The minds of such people are pure and transparent without impurity. Through their faculty of intellect, they will know the superior, mediocre and inferior teachings. On hearing a single verse, they will thoroughly penetrate the immeasurable meaning. Thus they will teach the Dharma little by little, for a period of 1 month, 4 months, or 1 year. As the result of preserving the Lotus Sutra, they will instantly know what all the sentient beings inside and outside this world, such as Deva-s, Nga-s, humans, Yaka-s, Akasa-s, and those who dwell in the 6 transmigratory states. Think in their various ways. They will hear and completely preserve the Dharma, which the innumerable Buddhas in the 10 directions, who are possessed of the marks of 100 merits, teach for the sake of sentient beings. They contemplate the immeasurable meaning, and they teach the Dharma in immeasurable ways. They will neither forget nor be confused, from the beginning to the end, because they preserve the Lotus Sutra. 263. 50b. The Lotus Sutra. They will completely know all aspects of all Dharma-s, and discern the meaning, according to the sequence. They will be versed in names and words, and expound in accordance with this knowledge. What they teach is the Dharma that has all been taught by the Buddhas of the past. Because they expound this Dharma, they will have no fear among the people. Those who preserve the Lotus Sutra possess the pure faculty of mind just like this, even though they have not yet attained the stage of non-corruption. They will previously have had the characteristics described above. These people preserve this sutra, and dwell in the marvelous stage. All the sentient beings will rejoice and revere them. They will illuminate and explain the teaching with thousands of myriads of choice of skillful words, because they preserve the Lotus Sutra. 264. Chapter XX. Bodhisattva Sadparibhshta. Thereupon the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Masattva. You should know that, as I have previously explained, those who revile, disparage, or slander monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who preserve the Lotus Sutra will sow a bitter harvest, as I have just taught. The merit attained by preserving the Lotus Sutra will result in the pure faculties of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Omasthmapapta, in the past, immeasurable, limitless, inconceive, able and incalculable kalpa-s ago, there was a Buddha called Bhagavata Svaraja, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowl, edge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. His land was called Mazabhav and the Kalpa was named Vinarbhoga. The Buddha Bhagavatasvaraja expounded the Dharma for the Deva-s, humans, and Asura-s in his world. To those who sought the Aveka vehicle he expounded the Dharma in accordance with the 4 noble truths, ferried them from birth, old age, illness, and death, and ultimately led them to nirvana. To those who sought the Pratyekabuddha vehicle, he expounded the Dharma in accordance with the 12-linked chain of dependent origination. To the Bodhisattvas he expounded the Dharma in accordance with the 6 perfections, with reference to highest complete enlightenment, and led them to the Buddha's wisdom. Omasthmapapta, the lifespan of the Buddha Bhagavatasvaraja, was as kalpa-s equal to 40 myriads of koi-s of naota-s of sands of the Ganges river. The true Dharma abided for kalpa-s equal to the number of particles in Jambudvipa. The semblance Dharma abided for kalpa-s equal to the number of particles in the 4 continents. After having benefited the sentient beings, the Buddha entered Parinirvana. After the extinction of the true and semblance Dharmas, there appeared in this land another Buddha who was also called Bhagavatasvaraja, a Tathagata, Arat, completely enlightened. 265. The Lotus Sutra. Perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world. Unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha. Bhagavat. In this way there appeared 2 myriads of koyas of Buddhas one after another, all of whom had the same name. After the Parinirva of the Rst Tathgate Magajitarsvaraja, there were excessively proud and overbearing monks in the age of the semblance. Dharma, after the true Dharma had been extinguished. At that time there was also a monk, a bodhisattva, called Sadparibhshta, never despising. Omasthmapapta, why was he called Sadparibhshta? Because whenever he saw any monk, nun, layman, or laywoman, he would praise and pay homage to them, saying, I deeply respect you. I dare not belittle you. Why is this? Because all of you practice the Bodhisattva path, and will become Buddhas. Furthermore, this monk did not concentrate himself on reciting the sutras, but only paid homage such that, even when he saw the fourfold assembly from afar, he would go up to them, praise, and pay homage to them, saying, I dare not belittle you, because you will all become Buddhas. In the fourfold assembly there were some whose minds were impure, and who became angry, and reviled and disparaged him, saying, Where does this ignorant monk come from? He says that he himself does not belittle us and predicts that we shall all become Buddhas. We do not need such an idle prediction. In this way he wandered about for many years and was always reviled. But he never got angry and always said, You will become a Buddha. Whenever he spoke these words, people would assail him with sticks or stones. He hid from them yet still proclaimed loudly at a distance, I dare not belittle you. You will all become Buddhas. Since he always spoke these words, the excessively proud monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen called him Sadparibhshta. When this monk was about to die, he heard in the air 20,000s of myriads of koyas of verses of the Lotus Sutra expounded previously by the Buddha Bhagavatasvaraja. 266. 50c. 51a. Chapter XX. And, completely preserving them, he attained the purity of the eye, and the purity of the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind that were described before. After having attained these pure faculties, his lifespan increased 200 of myriads of koyas of naotas of years, and he taught this Lotus Sutra to the people far and wide. Then those excessively proud monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen in the fourfold assembly who had despised him and called him Sadparibhshta, saw that he had attained great transcendent powers, the power of joy in eloquence, and the power of great virtuous meditation. Hearing his teaching, all of them believed and followed him. Furthermore, this Bodhisattva inspired 1,000 myriads of koyas of sentient beings and caused them to abide in highest, complete enlightenment. After his death, he met 2,000 koyas of Buddhas, all of whom were called Chandrasraya Pradpa. In accordance with his teaching he expounded this Lotus Sutra, and for this reason met another 2,000 koyas of Buddhas, all of whom were called Mahasvaraja. He preserved and recited this sutra in accordance with the teaching of these Buddhas and expounded it for the Sakhe of the fourfold assembly. Thus he attained purity of the natural eye and purity of the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and taught the Dharma to the fourfold assembly without fear. Omasthamapapta, this Bodhisattva Masattva Sadparibhshta. Respected, honored, praised, and paid homage to all these Buddhas. Having planted roots of good merit, he again met thousands of myriads of cohesive Buddhas, and he expounded this sutra over again in accordance with the teaching of those Buddhas. Having perfected his merits, he attained Buddhahood. Omasthamapapta, what do you think about this? Was Bodhisattva Sadparibhshta of that time someone unknown to you? He was none other than I myself. If I had not preserved and recited this sutra and taught it to others in my previous lives, I would not have swiftly attained highest, complete enlightenment. Because I preserved and recited this sutra and taught it to others in the presence of previous Buddhas, I swiftly attained highest, complete enlightenment. Omasthamapapta, then the fourfold assembly of monks, nuns, lay men, and lay women who became angry and disparaged me, did not, as a consequence, meet a Buddha for 200 koyas of kalpas, nor did they. 267. The Lotus Sutra. Hear the Dharma or see the Sangha. They suffered greatly in the Offsai hell for 1,000 kalpas. After having been freed from the consequences of their errors, they nearly met Bodhisattva Sadparibhshta, who led and inspired them to highest, complete enlightenment. Omasthamapapta, what do you think about this? Were those in the fourfold assembly of that time who disparaged this Bodhisattva persons unknown to you? They are the VE100 Bodhisattvas in this assembly. Beginning with Bhadrapla, the VE100 nuns beginning with Saiha Kand, and the VE100 laymen beginning with Sugartasten, all of whom will never turn back on the path to highest, complete enlightenment. Omasthamapapta, know that this Lotus Sutra will greatly benefit the Bodhisattva Masattvas and lead them to highest, complete enlightenment. For this reason, after the Tathagatas Parinirva, the Bodhisattva Masattvas should always preserve, recite, explain, and copy this sutra. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this, further spoke these verses. In the past there was a Buddha called Bhagajatasvaraja. He had immeasurable transcendent powers, led and guided all sentient beings, and was paid homage by devas, humans, and ngas. After the parinirva of this Buddha, when the true Dharma faced extinction, there was a Bodhisattva called Sadparibhshta. At that time the fourfold assembly was becoming attached to its own interpretation of the Dharma. Bodhisattva Sadparibhshta would approach them and say, I do not belittle you. Practice the path, and you will all become Buddhas. After hearing this, all the people insulted and disparaged him. 268.